Hello folks, this is Hula once again. Welcome to another video for Teamfight Tactics. This video we're going to be looking at a normal game of mine. Actually have some pretty good players in this one. We have a Masters player, 2 Diamond players, a couple Platinum players, and then I think several Gold players. So kind of the weird mixes you get sometimes in these games with a bunch of different players. But in this game we're going to be looking at building a really tanky front line and then just trying to play beyond that. I was going for the chain vest. I didn't get it. There were 2 other players who were also going for the chain vest. I do not end up getting that, so I'm going to have to end up settling for this cloak instead, and we'll have to go off of Singed. So this inspiration for this game was me wanting to try out a couple different things in terms of building frontline team comps. In particular, I've never really played too many team comps that make use of the Colossus frontline units. And it was something that I wanted to test, and this was a game where I had a perfect opportunity to test out some of the Colossus units. In particular, I'm going to have a chance to demonstrate Scion, which is a unit that I really have not played in like any of my games. He was a unit that was pretty weak in earlier patches, but has gotten enough buffs now that he's very playable if you can get Scion with the right items and in the right setup. But kind of the wider context for this game and emphasizing kind of building the front line to first and then figuring out what your backline carries are going to be after that. It's partly come out of some discussions that we've been having on the Sula Discord about Teamfight Tactics, also inspired by a video created by Mismatched Socks, who recently put up a video kind of discussing early game and mid game team compositions. And I'll get back to that thread in a minute. I end up taking the Tome of Traits here. I thought about Rich Get Richer, but I wanted to have the chance to pull an additional trait out of the Tome of Traits. And in particular, I'm actually going to hold that item for a little while because the way the Tome of Traits works is it's purely random if you use it right at the start of the game. In order to get a selection of traits that you have in the game, you have to wait until you're level 5. You have to have 5 units in. So I'm actually going to hold this for right now. And I'm going to look to play Yordles here at the start, and then have 3 Yordles to feed me some income. By the way, you see the Spotlight's actually in a really nice spot for this game. But I'm going to play through Yordles and put items on the Trist in the early game. Sadly, I can't really make use of this Malzahar. I don't really have AP items here. I was thinking maybe if I get AP items, I'll look to play through the Mauls instead. I could like itemize the Ziggs and play it with Malzahar, but I get a sword here, and that's the signal to me that I'm going to be playing AD and not AP, because I got a sword here, instead of getting like a rod or something. Okay, so to go back to the point I was making earlier, Mismatched Socks is one of the best Teamfight Tactics players in North America. He's gone to Worlds, been one of the world's representatives from North America a bunch of different times, and obviously knows infinitely more about this game than me. But watch some of the videos that he posted recently and was talking about different mistakes that players make who are at lower skill levels, which definitely would include myself. But one of the biggest things that he pointed out is oftentimes players don't build strong enough front lines, and then they end up in these situations where their front line's not strong enough, and so it just gets bowled over immediately, and then they not only lose rounds, but they lose rounds like 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, and you end up taking just enormous damage. This is particularly true on stage 3. You know, you lose a fight like 6-0 on stage 3 and you take like 12 or 13 damage, and you can very easily lose like 40 or 50 health before stage 3 is over. So the recommendation there was to focus more on building stronger front lines, because that way, even if your front line isn't exactly even if you don't really have a ton of damage, by stalling out fights, you're more likely to kill a bunch of units on the enemy team. Now, of course, don't take this to an extreme. Obviously, you need to have a balance between frontline for protection, utility units that provide healing, shielding, crowd control, and of course, actual damage options that are there to kill the other team. But in general, it seems like particularly at lower skill levels, people tend to greed for damage items. I've definitely noticed that people tend to take the swords and the bows and the rods pretty frequently when they have first pick. So people do tend to greed for the offensive items a little bit more than they go for the defensive items. So there's a bit of like a market opportunity to focus on defensive itemization, get front lines that are really, really strong, that are very difficult to kill, and then you can kind of play flexibly on which carries you hit behind them. Like, you're not really necessarily tied into any one carry. You could play, if you have AD items, maybe you can play Urgot if you get good items for Urgot, or if you see a bunch of Urgots, and then you can shift into Chemtech. Maybe you get items for Jin, and you can toss in like Oriana for Clockwork. Maybe you are lucky and you hit an early Jinx or an early Kaisa, and then you just build around them and use them as your carry. So you can be pretty flexible, but if you've got that strong front line, you can stall out the fights. You can have utility and healing champions that just prolong things, and then you can kind of play flexibly behind that. So that's kind of the idea. You actually saw me take a bad loss in the last round, and that was because the person I was up against had exactly that, a front line that just I could not kill at all. They had a Darius on their board that was 2-star, and they had the Syndicate trait in. So 2-star Darius with Syndicate trait. It's just not possible to do enough damage to get through Darius because he keeps healing off of his ability, he keeps healing off the Syndicate Omnivamp, and you saw what happened. Not only did I, not come close to winning the round, I took a bad loss. I took a ton of damage because I couldn't get through the Darius. Also, this person is just spam pinging, so whenever that happens, I just immediately mute them. Similar story here, it's a Bruiser Alawi with a 2-star Alawi who has Bruiser trait in and also has a Gargoyle Stoneblade. Like, I kill nothing, and then I take 8 damage, which is a ton for stage 2. So, you're seeing in these rounds that I'm losing exactly the point I'm trying to make, which is that if your front line is kind of garbage, there's not much you can do about it, and you end up taking bad losses that end up crushing you. So as bad as those losses were, I actually don't have first pick on the carousel, which was a real what the heck moment for me. But based on what's here, I'm going to follow this philosophy. I'm going to go ahead and try to get a defensive item. I'm going to go ahead and take the Chain Vest. I almost lose it to that person on the other side of the carousel, but I do get my Chain Vest. So I can now look to toss that on one of these units. But in fact, I actually just decided I would just play the Blitzcrank here. I can always look to, I'm pretty confident that I'll get 4 Blitzcranks throughout the game. I can always look to sell this Blitz and transfer the item over later. But for right now, I figured I'd just play the Blitzcrank because I think that that's better than a lot of the other options that I have here. So I'll go ahead and level. Any second now. Come on, past self. There we go. So go ahead and level, and there we go. Yordle plus Bodyguard plus Scrap. I was considering playing the Lulu here as well. And then I can also take this out, and I can take out the Leona and then play Kate for Sniper as well. So I've got a lot of traits in play. Big issue right now is that I don't have... and boy, I probably should have just kept what I had in play there. Probably should have just kept the Scrap so that Blitzcrank would get a free Scrap item. I don't think this is quite as good. I was considering playing the Lulu because Lulu is probably a better unit than the Ziggs, but I think getting Scrap is probably a little bit better. So, yep, there you go. I am just hoping that Kate will kill a unit or two. By the way, great Lulu ult right on the Blitzcrank. Knocked everybody up. Imagine if Blitz had rolled like a Bramble Vest on a Scrap item here. Yeah, that would be pretty good. Does not happen, but the good news is this looks like it will be a loss, but it should be a relatively close loss. So there you go. See how I emphasize getting a little bit stronger front line, and even though I lose the round, it's a closer loss. It's not nearly as bad as some of these other ones. Then I hit 2-star Ziggs, and that makes the decision for me. I'll drop the Lulu, and now I can actually pull the Tome of Traits, because now I'm guaranteed to get stuff based on what I have in the game, and I see that Bodyguard is right there, so I am happy to take that, and that'll allow me to play 4 Bodyguard. So I'm going to drop the Sniper for right now, but I'm going to go up to 4 Bodyguard. And 4 Bodyguard is very, very strong in the early game. Now, unfortunately, I have to put this Bodyguard emblem on someone, and the only one who can take it is Ziggs, which is really bizarre. But it's not the worst thing. Obviously, Ziggs is not going to stay in this comp too long, but it's actually not the worst thing because this does mean that if Ziggs gets hooked by a Blitzcrank on another team, he'll get hooked into the enemy team with a Bodyguard emblem on him. So he'll get hooked in with 200 armor and the Bodyguard shield. So yeah, I figured that that was not the worst thing. Now here is a round up against someone who's playing Mutant. The Mutant trait in this game is the one that gives extra armor and magic resist and extra 80 in AP as the fight goes on. It's the Elderwood trait from previous sets. For people who are curious, yeah, you can see me highlighting it right there. So again, this is another loss. I've actually lost streaked all the way through stage 2, but if you notice, after the carousel, the losses were not too bad overall. Like, I still lost the rounds, but I lost less HP because only 2 units survived the fight right after the carousel. So I think that's a 4 damage loss, and then only 3 units survived the last fight because one of them was Cho. And Cho, of course, takes up 2 slots, but he doesn't deal damage to you on a loss as though he's 2 units. So I think it was a 4 damage loss and a 6 damage loss, which is not very bad. And because I've lost all these rounds, my economy is actually pretty good. Plus I have Yordles in, which is feeding me a little bit of extra income. So that's not so bad. Now I'm looking to see what I can get in terms of items, and ooh, this was not the items I was looking for. I get a tear and a rod. And then I do get another sword, so I was like, oh, you know, I didn't really want a tear and a rod here. I really would have liked, I don't know, like another chain vest so I could make bramble, or another cloak so I could maybe make dragon's claw or something like that. So not the worst. I did also have the option to make the rod plus cloak item, which is a spark, and I don't think that would have been a terrible option either, but still just not really what I was looking for there. So I go ahead and make the Bloodthirster because I want to make use of one of these swords. I don't want to have two swords sitting on my bench. I don't think Bloodthirster is great by any means, but I think it's okay. Like, I would rather have this be a different sword item, but I'll take it. I also do have the option to build that tier into a Frozen Heart long term. The rod I would like to turn into Morello's long term if I can get, because Morello's is super nice to have on somebody. This fight is a little bit sad because the Ezreal gets popped really early in the, or not Ezreal, wow. I'm getting confused with other games. The Tristana gets popped early on in the fight, but it looks like I have enough to win the fight anyway because, again, 4 Bodyguard, really strong in the early game. I actually really like pulling a Bodyguard emblem early on in the game because the 200 armor that the Bodyguard units get is just so high. It's really difficult for at other boards to cut through that much armor early in the game. Now, of course, this doesn't stop magic damage from going through, but it's quite nice having all that armor early on because most damage in the early game is physical. That's just kind of a general rule, is most damage in the early game is physical. So you get the 200 armor, and it's pretty easy to win fights, even if your board's not that good. Like, I don't think my board's very good. I have a 2-star Poppy and a 2-star Ziggs. Wow, great, awesome. Like, this is not an especially impressive board, but, like, look how long it takes the other teams to kill anything on my board. Like, Triss does not do very much damage because she's only a 1-star unit, and her items are not particularly great for Triss. She doesn't have like a Rage Blade or something. But like, as long as she's alive, I'm probably going to win most of these fights because it just takes so long for my units. Like, look, Leona is in the middle of the entire enemy team. And there she goes. She gets off another spellcast. So like, it takes them how long to kill a unit? An awful long time. I would think it was like 25 seconds into the fight before they killed any units. And if I had any kind of healing in my comp, I don't think Leona would even die. So like, there is an argument for putting Taric in this comp, but I feel like I need the sniper trait in order to get additional damage because I'm very low on damage. And then here, I get 2 different healing options. There's Thrill of the Hunt and Celestial Blessing. I could also take the Enforcer option, which would not be terrible, but I figured that I'd like to have some kind of healing in this comp. Now, if I had known I was going to get Celestial Blessing, I would not have made the Bloodthirster. I don't really need the double healing, but Celestial Blessing is very nice to have. Especially good to get as one of the later augments. It's kind of lousy in the early game, but mid-game, late game, it really starts to take off. I definitely would prefer it over Thrill of the Hunt by the second augment. Thrill of the Hunt is better early game, but falls off because it's a flat value, whereas Celestial Blessing being a percentage-based, it gets better and better as the game goes on. So that's actually quite nice because, again, I'm playing kind of this stall comp setup here, where like my team is super tanky and the fights take forever. So having some healing all throughout my comp is really nice. I just wish I hadn't built the Bloodthirster. That was kind of the one thing that was unfortunate about that, but oh well. Still, my economy's in good shape. Unlike the last game I posted on YouTube, my economy's been great. I was able to lost streak throughout Stage 2 without losing too much health. Like, I came out of Stage 2 on 74 health. That's not bad. Now I'm up against someone who's actually gone to level 7 already. They actually are running Clear Mind, but the good news for me is they don't have any items committed. Now, is it going to be enough for me to kill this team? Well, the problem is my damage is still really low, and they've got a 2-star Taric over there that's healing. So, yeah, this does not look like it's going to work very well. I was hoping I could kill another unit, but it does not look like that's going to happen. Again, once again, they've got they've got these Chemtech units in, Bruisers plus Chemtech. They got a lot of healing. I have no healing debuff. Not a lot I can do, so I take a bad loss there. The only good thing is now I get first pick off of Carousel. So I'm trying to figure out, what do I want here? I was like, do I want an offensive item? I was like, no, I think I should try to build something defensive. And then I was like, oh, wait, I've got this rod on my bench. What if I just prioritize Morello's right now? I can get Morello's. Scion's got a belt. I could make Morello's off of that. And then I was like, wait a minute. Well, what if instead of selling Scion, I just use Scion for my front line? I can move the Bodyguard emblem over to him, and I can run 4 bodyguards with Bodyguard Scion. I was like, that feels pretty good. That'll give him just an absurd amount of armor. So I was like, okay, let's just take the Ziggs out. This will drop Yordles, so I'll stop getting the econ from that, but I think that's okay. So we can put him in, take the Ziggs out, put the bodyguard emblem on, put the Morellos on, and now I've got someone who can use Morellos quite well. So we'll just shift over like this. I'm still in pretty good shape economically. Like I can sell the Tarek to get up to 40 gold, which is totally fine. And I was like, this feels pretty good. This feels pretty decent. Now, the one thing that's wrong about my comp right now is I probably have too much frontline at this point. I probably need a little bit more damage. Like, honestly, aside from Trist and I guess Caitlyn, no one really does any damage in my team comp. So, honestly, I probably should prioritize a little bit more damage. Like, I don't think I need 4 bodyguard here. I think I could probably take out the Poppy and the Leona in favor of more utility, more damage. Like, maybe I could get Scholar in. Maybe I could get another unit that deals damage. Maybe if I could find Misfortune, get her in. So, like, you can see Scion lasts forever. He literally is still alive. Like, we're going to overtime and about to hit overtime. And he also does the most damage in the fight, by the way. But I really do need to get some more damage into this team comp. I do hit Triss 2-star eventually, so that'll help a bit. But I do think I need to get more into my team comp. And that's what I'm going to be looking to do as I move forward here. But I think this is okay. Like you can see I'm on 50 HP, but I did lose to someone who's win streaking. This person, Shabby Slob, is off in win streaking, so I don't feel too bad about that loss. Mostly, though, now I need to, continue trying to 2-star more of these champs. I want to probably drop the 4 bodyguard eventually, as I said, but I do need units to put in. I'm not just going to drop the 4 bodyguard to play nothing. I need to get actual units in there that can do additional damage. So, like I said, looking for sniper units. If I find like an early Yone or something, I could look to maybe shift into Challenger, although I don't think this board plays great into that. But, who knows? Maybe I could play Yone. Maybe I'll get lucky and hit a 1%, I don't know, Kaisa or Jinx or something like that. There is always the option to play into Jhin, although Bloodthirster's not an especially good item on Jhin. So yeah, we're just still kind of hanging in there. I have no idea if I can actually kill these units. Come on, Trist. You do have the Bloodthirster. Looks like Caitlyn's got me there. So yeah, the 1-star Kate popping off and helping out there. Then I saw the Darius's because I realized I'm not going to play Darius. I also do have Fiora, so like that's a possibility. But then I was like, wait, no, I don't have any ranks of Socialite. You kind of need some ranks in Socialite to play Fiora. But I could have potentially put her in here. Maybe. It was an option, Playing her would pick up Enforcer, but I guess I could always just sell... You know what? Actually, in retrospect, probably should have just sold the Trist and played Fiora. I could just put these items on Fiora. She would probably use them as well as Trist does, but oh well. Path not taken. Instead, I'm going to look to econ up and see what other units I can find, but probably should have looked to pick that up. All right, so I get a couple more items. The big one that I find here is that I am able to get another chain vest. So that's going to allow me to make Bramble, which is just a fantastic item on Scion. He has I think he has almost 400 armor right now, which is just crazy. So I just go ahead and pick up some units. I go ahead and pick up the Lysandra. I accidentally over-level here. And then I decide, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and make Spear of Shojin on Trist. I don't want Spear of Shojin on my main carry, but this is the best way I can think to use this this tier. And I thought, I already have an Orianna right here. I'll put the Spear of Shojin on Ori later. It's a good item on her. It means she'll probably cast twice in a fight, which will be quite nice. And I'm definitely going to play Ori if I can find Jhin. If I don't find Jhin, maybe I can put the Shojin on someone else. Like, it's not terrible on, like, Kaisa, for example, so that she casts more often. But I want to make use of this item. I don't want it just sitting there on my bench. I don't see... And now that... Oh, the other thing was, now that I made the Bramble, I knew I wasn't going to make Frozen Heart. So there was no reason to hold it for a potential Frozen Heart, which is also a good item. But yeah, Scion just kind of chilling there, not having much difficulty in that fight. So we're able to win. I get back up to 50 gold. I'm not punished for earlier over-leveling by 1 when I bought that Lysandra. All right, so again, we're still looking, but I'm confident now I can get to level 8 and roll down at level 8 and then start to build my board based on what I hit there. So I hit 2-star Kate, so okay. And I'll pick up the Zyra for another Scholar option. I would like to play Scholar if at all possible. It helps Scion out a lot in terms of getting off more casts, but we'll have to see. I really would like to move out of the Poppy, but I haven't found any other bodyguards, so she's just kind of in there for right now. I've also never managed to 2-star the Leona, which is not ideal. Would have been nice to have had 2-star Leona by now, but whatever. I'm in good shape economically. I'm actually in pretty good shape on health now because I was able to stabilize. Really, it was the Scion that stabilized me. Getting the Scion helped. But, I've actually been in reasonably good shape on health ever since that carousel in the middle of Stage 2. Like, I lost a lot of health at the beginning of Stage 2, but, still lost streak, but stabilized on the lost streak. at the end of stage 2, and I've been in pretty comfortable shape since then. All right, so Scion is just still sitting there tanking forever against this enemy team. There's a Scion on the other side as well, but that itemization, not bad. I don't think that Gunblade's terrible on Scion, but I don't think it's one of his better items. So we've just got Trist and Kate just standing there in the back, like not taking any damage at all. So a good example of how a lot of these team comps struggle if you have a really strong front line. So here I just randomly hit 2-star Lissandra, and I was like, do I just play this Lissandra here? I was like, do I just go to 8 and play the Lissandra? I am on a winning streak. It's 16 to level. I was like, okay. I guess I'll go ahead and just put the Lissandra in. Why not? It doesn't cost me much. If it helps me keep the win streak going, it's worthwhile. I can always then sell the MF for 3 gold, potentially. I still wasn't sure if I would look to play MF, if I would look to play Caitlyn. I wasn't exactly sure. But I do go ahead and sell the Zyra because I know at this point I'm not going to play Zyra. If I'm going to find another Scholar, it's going to have to be Janna or Yuumi. I'm not just going to play that. This round's kind of sad because I get Zephyred, and sadly it's not even by an actual Zephyr, it's by a Scrap Zephyr. Echo just randomly rolled a Scrap Zephyr, which is not great because there's really no way to defend against that. And then there's a Katarina over there on the other side. I was like, oh, can Trist actually kill this thing before Trist dies? And she actually does, so... You know, the Bloodthirster, not a great item, but it comes in handy. Super clutch here. The Bloodthirster shield keeps Trist from dying. So, okay, I guess that worked. And by the way, Scion is still at full HP. It's like, what the heck? Scion is not taking any damage at all? Okay. So, yeah, Scion's Protector shields were apparently enough that he just never really took damage. And I guess it was an Assassin's comp, too, so... Assassins kind of jumped over Scion's head. But hey, we went ahead and won that round, so... I was not really punished by leveling early. Now I've got a choice of other stuff to grab here. I kind of want to get that glove because I'd really like to make Last Whisper. That's my top item to make right now. But it gets taken, and I was like, that's a little bit sad. I do need to focus on damage items now because I've got my frontline set. Scion's fully itemized. I don't need more frontline items. So I decide, I guess I'll take the bow. It can make a Rage Blade. So again, if I find like Kaisa here, I'd be happy to play that. Rage Blade plus Shojin is pretty good on her. So all right, we're level 8. Let's roll down and see what we can hit. So I do hit a Scion. I do finally hit 2-star Leona, another Blitzcrank. So far so good. I see a Jhin, and I was like, I think I'm gonna play the Jhin. Let's see what else we can hit though. There are more MFs here. I really should have picked up that other MF and then considered playing that. And then I hit 2-star MF, so I was like, all right, do I want to play that? There's a Braum now here as well. So I'll put in the Jhin, I'll put in the MF for Sniper, and now I really would like to get the, I really want to get in the, what's her called, Orianna, so I can get Clockwork. So I'll go ahead and make that. For right now, I put the Shojin on MF, so that she'll cast more often. Hitting 2-star MF is pretty nice here. And I am holding on to the Caitlyn in case I would find an Enforcer and then want to play... like if I can find Jace and make Enforcer, I'd rather play Caitlyn. And it doesn't look like I'm going to play the Seraphine. I don't really see room for that. If I'm going to play an Enchanter, it's going to be either Galio or Taric. It's not going to be her. So can sell the Seraphine. So we're not quite there, but we did find some useful stuff. I moved down to 3 Bodyguard, but as I said, I don't think I really need 4 Bodyguard at this point. Now that I have the Bramble on Scion, especially if I can 2-star him, I'd be happy to move out of some of the Bodyguards and replace that with a little bit more damage, a little bit more utility. So it is always a balancing act. It's really important to have a strong front line, but like you've seen that Scion is just not dying in these fights. If I can get him 2-starred, I'll feel pretty confident that I'm in a good position. And then here I get exactly what I want. I find Ascension, which is amazing, and then I find a Jace. So I was like, ooh, Jace, okay. Well, if I find Jace, I'm going to play the Kate over the Misfortune because that allows me to put in Jace, and then I can get Enforcer in as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. And now I'll move the Shojin over to Orianna. And now I've just got these random extra champions on my bench. So I'm going to clear some of the Bodyguards. That'll free up some more money. We hit 2-star Blitz. We also managed to get another Jhin. I'm getting a lot of Tom Kenches, which is a little sad. Maybe I should have picked those up and had that option as well. But the good news is I hit 2-star Scion, and that's the biggest thing that I'm rolling for. That and Jhin were the 2 top things. So I roll down to 10 here, stop at 10, and figure out where to go from there. And I'll wait to commit my last items until after this minion round is over. So I'm feeling pretty good, except I still have this random Lissandra in my comp. Lissandra should not be the unit in there. I should have probably just kept in the 2-star Leona. I think that would have been more useful. Like, I've just got this random Lissandra in there who makes no traits and is not really useful, so I don't know. I'm not sure what that is about. this fight's great. We actually hooked the Urgot immediately. So I was like, okay, yes, I will hook your 2-star Urgot and just kill that unit at the start of the fight. Thank you very much for letting me get your carry like that. This is the player who is running Clear Mind and has been like super duper rich the entire game as a result. Like they've already got 2-star Urgot and they've got a Tom Kench that's producing items. So we're still looking pretty good here if we can find a way to get through this Mundo. Thankfully, the Morelos is burning the Mundo. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure we would have lost that. So yeah, we're going to win this. And I believe we actually end that person's win streak. I think they were on a big win streak, and we're able to end that. Unfortunately, that person's going to be level 9 pretty soon. So that's concerning. But hey, I'm actually on a 6-match win streak right now. And I was able to win streak through the entirety of Stage 4. So yeah, Scion really just has been awesome for this setup. It is really, really difficult for other teams to get past the Scion. Now, one thing that's also helping me, there's only one person in the lobby who's playing Assassins. I'm very vulnerable to Assassins. Anyone who can get past the Scion and get on my back lines, that's a problem. But as long as Scion's up there tanking for me, I'm feeling pretty good. So I've got some useful traits in play. Like, it's a little weird to have Kate on my board right now because she is a 1-cost champion. But the good news is she makes Enforcer and she makes Sniper, so I think it's worthwhile to keep her in there. Oh, and I get really good luck in the sense that I find a glove, which allows me to make Last Whisper, which is the item I was most looking for. That means Jin will not have as much trouble cutting through the other team's front line. He's much less likely to get stuck on tanks. Now, I thought about going to 9 here, but I did not have Jin 2-star, so I wanted to roll to see if I could 2-star the Jin, because my damage is pretty low. I have Ascension, which kicks in the big damage boost after a certain amount of time. And then I find Galio. I was like, ooh, what if I play Galio instead? I can take out this Lysandre who's not doing anything. I can play the Galio. That actually gets me a Socialite Spotlight. And now I'll just look to go ahead and make a Titans on Galio. I was like, all right, that feels pretty good. And then I'll have to figure out what to do with this leftover rod. But that's certainly a lot better than this Lysandre that's doing basically nothing in my team comp. So now I've got 2 Colossus in, which is really nice. I'm up against this person who's made 3-star Warwick. There's the Ascension bonus kicking in. Do I have enough damage to kill this team? Oh, we actually do get the Warwick, but Kate does not quite survive to the end of the fight. So that person looking pretty strong there. That's the one board that I'm having trouble with. Tenacious T with a bunch of 3-star units. But, there we go. 2-star Jin. Now I'm confident that I can go to level 9. So I am running 2 Colossus units, and that does eat up quite a few slots. That means I can only play 6 units here, which is not ideal. But, you know, Colossus is just such a strong trait. It's got the big damage reduction bonus. I think it's like 25 or 30% damage reduction in this build. And Galio and Scion are also just really good units. Like, Galio actually adds a fair bit of damage. And he also adds the Socialite Spotlight, which is in a great spot for me. It's just in the corner. Excuse me. Now, normally you wouldn't be able to play in the corner because, well, you got to worry about Blitzcrank hooks, but I actually checked the lobby. No one is playing Blitzcrank aside from me. There's literally 0 other Blitzcranks in this game. So I can stand in the corner just fine, and it's not going to cause any problems. By the way, Kate actually kills a unit, which is kind of cool. So yeah, we're up against the super tanky Scion on the other team, too. I think we've seen this one before, the one that has the Gunblade and the Morelos. Also has a Chemtech emblem, but yeah, also lives forever, but cannot stand up to my entire team shooting him after the rest of the team is dead. All right, so here I find a Yuumi. So that's kind of interesting. I could potentially look to play Yuumi. I would really like to get Scholar in this team comp, if at all possible. I think Scholar would be quite nice to have. So I think I decide I'm going to pick up the Yuumi over the Jace. And now that I've done that, I wish I had Misfortune, because without Enforcer, there's not much reason to play Kate over Misfortune. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about my board. Like I said, as long as Jin stays safe, I'm in pretty good shape in these fights. And up until, aside from that one round, I think I've won like 6 of the last 7 or 7 of the last 8 fights, something like that. Also, a lot of these people are just letting me hook their carries, somewhat surprisingly. Like, we'll just kill this Jinx before she even gets to go off. So, okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I think maybe it's because I'm the only one in the whole lobby playing Blitzcrank that people are willing to let me hook their carries like this or not positioning around Blitzcrank. And, of course, having Ascension is super nice. The 65% extra damage on all your units after half the round's gone by, after 15 seconds. So, this is feeling super duper nice. Now I'll just look to go to level 9. And then I can play some additional units there. There's some stuff I would definitely like here. I would love the Giant Slayer for Jin. That would be great here. I would not mind the Gargoyle Stoneplate, would be good on Galio. That would be a nice tank item. But it turns out that basically every item is going to get taken here. Yeah, so I'm left with an Academy emblem, an Assassin emblem, a Mutant emblem, or a Static Shiv. I was like, well, not playing any of those traits. I guess it's the Static Shiv. Not the item I wanted, but oh well, we'll take it. And then I was just like, who do I put this on? It's not going to be Jin. I still have another slot. I'd rather put it on someone else. I was like, it's probably Galio or Oriana. So I was like, who attacks faster between these two? Galio's attack speed is 0.88, Oriana's 0.94. I was like, all right, go ahead, you take it, Ori. I still might be able to get some better tank items for Galio. I'll definitely get one from the dragon at the end of this stage, and then maybe we'll get another tank item later. I'd rather leave those slots open because Galio can't really use Static Shiv particularly well. All right, so another person here, and then this person's got a 3-star Cho. I was like, oh, that's trouble. And this person also has Ascension as well. So this person's also building the super duper tanky front line. I was like, do I have any way to kill this this Cho'Gath? And the answer appears to be no. It does not appear that I have enough damage to kill this. So I was like, oh, I did not like that team comp. That team comp is on, what? I think they're on like 10 HP. I was like, someone else please knock that 3-star Cho out of the game because I do not have a good way of dealing with the Cho. I guess I have a Morelos to cut down on the healing a little bit and do percentage-based damage. But yeah, the Jin is not really doing enough damage to deal with that unit. So once again, an incredible super tank posing a major problem for my setup. Yeah, that's the comp I probably am most worried about. This one here, I was looking at this comp that was on 6 HP, Chthonic, and that looks like a strong setup too, but my Blitzcrank will just hook that Kaisa if I ever hit that person. So I was kind of hoping I'd hit that comp, because I was pretty confident that Blitz would just grab the Kaisa, we would kill the Kaisa, and then it would be an easy win from there. But no, instead we've got like a Chemtech board, but hey, guess what? We're going to grab your Urgot right again at the start of the fight. I was like, shouldn't you maybe be positioning so like a different unit gets grabbed? I don't know. People were not paying enough attention to the Blitzcrank hooks in this game. Maybe they just assumed that everybody had dropped Blitzcrank by this point in the game. So yeah, we're going to win this round pretty easily. I guess there's still a 1-star victor with no items. And that's going to be it for this player. So quite a few people playing Scion and Cho and Galio in this lobby. You can see the Colossus units are pretty popular after the way they've been buffed. So I sold that Jace earlier. I wasn't going to play Jace, but at this point I was like, well, wait a minute. Maybe I put Jace back in at level 9. I could sell Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is giving me Protector on... he is giving me Protector trait on the Scion, which is quite useful, but I think it might be better to play like Jace plus Yuumi instead of the Blitzcrank. Even though I lose Protector trait, it feels like getting Enforcer is at least as good as that, and maybe quite a bit better than that. Plus Jace will put down the Acceleration Gate and give the extra attack speed to everybody in my backline. I certainly don't need to frontline Jace with this team composition. All right, so we're going to go to 9 and see what we can hit. I am hoping to try to 2-star more of my board. Let's see. I've been getting a lot of Toms in this game, which is kind of funny. I also find a Janna, which I think would not be bad to play either, because Janna makes Scrap and also has the potential to make Scholar, potentially. It's like, all right, so I'm rolling here. There is a Galio, so I was like, let's go ahead and make this change. Go ahead and pick up the Galio. And then there's a Yuumi here, so I'll lock for the Yuumi. I was going to sell Janna and just buy the Yuumi, but I'm too slow to do it. Reflex is a little bit too slow. So I think this board is definitely better. Again, we did lose Protector trait on Scion, but I'm getting closer to 2-star Galio, which will give me yet another super tanky frontliner. Look at that Scion CC. It's so nice getting that in the back lines. So this is the person who's playing through Kaisa. At least it's a 1-star Kaisa and not a 2-star Kaisa. Still, I need my tanks to get over to the Kaisa. They're over there beating up on the poor Seraphine, who we enforcered at the start of the fight. But my tanks are still alive. Go Colossus, go Galio, go Scion. So yeah, Colossus units punching each other in the face. And oh, hey, look at that. It's down to just 2 people in the lobby right now. Fortunately, the person who was playing the 3-star Cho did end up getting taken out by someone else, not by me. So I did not have to see that team comp again. So yeah, now I'm just hoping I can hit the 2-star Galio, and then maybe I can look to try and get 2 more Jaces. But my board's pretty set at this point. It's a little sad I don't have Scholar trait, but I don't think there's anything I'd really want to take out at this point. Maybe I could play Janna over the Jace, but I do think Enforcer's pretty good to have right now. Let's see who's getting Enforcered on this other person. Shabby Slob. And it looks like the Enforcer is hitting their Mundo. Okay, maybe that's not that valuable, but it's not bad by any means. Galio's going to get off a high-value ult. Scion's been getting off some super nice ults in here. So yeah, we're looking pretty good. The scary thing about this other team composition is the fact that they've got a Tahm Kench who's going to keep producing more items and eating them in these fights. I wasn't sure if I was going to win this fight because I hadn't seen this person in a little while, but I ended up winning the round. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's good. And oh, thank you very much, 2-star Galio. Now I'm feeling a bit better. Now my board's feeling pretty nice. We've got 2-star Galio. We've got 2-star Yuumi. Now if we could get 2-star Jace, that would be nice as well. Got the Jhin. Maybe I can get another item on Jhin. I'd feel better if I could get another damage item on Jhin. So yeah, this is the person who was running Clear Mind and was like super wealthy. They've got a 2-star Tahm and a 2-star Jace, so that's kind of scary. And now I was trying to figure out how to position. I wasn't quite sure how to position for this team comp. So in this particular fight, watch the Tahm Kench. Note that Tahm is just going to like walk into my back line and start eating people. And I was like, okay, I've got to reposition to stop Tahm because I did not want Tahm getting in my back line. Fortunately, he's over by Kate. He eats Kate first and then he eats Jace. And I was like, okay, those are not particularly important units, but I should stop Tahm from just walking into the back line and eating all my units. I really need to stop that from happening. This fight's close, but we are going to win it. Jhin ends up doing the most damage. Galio does the second most. So, okay, that's pretty good. And that's what we want. There's an Infinity Edge right here. Perfect. Give me that perfect last item for Jhin. It's going to synergize really well with his Last Whisper. Will increase his damage by a lot to get this item. The other player ended up taking a Jinx off the carousel, Jinx with Warmogs, and that's a little scary because it puts them closer to Jinx 2-star, but I wasn't going to take Warmogs just to deny it to them. I really do think the Infinity Edge was a good pick. So we'll see how that works out, but I wanted to itemize my board over just denying them something. So they've still got a Jinx on their bench. I'm hoping that they will not hit the Jinx 2-star here. I maybe should have held Jinxes on the over on my end, so that they had fewer chances to get Jinx. So I'm going to go ahead and shift my units up here, my 2 Colossus units up to the front lines. And the logic here is I don't want Tahm walking into the back line eating my units. So now Tahm will get stuck on the Scion. And one of the nice things about Colossus units is they're CC immune. So Tahm Kench can't eat them. Galio, Scion, Cho, they're pretty good counters to Tahm Kench because Tahm cannot eat them and toss them in his stomach. Tahm Kench is super good against like a Vex front line, stuff like that, but not so good against Colossus units. All right, here it was looking pretty scary, but Galio's going to jump up in the air, come down on the Jinx, and we're going to end up winning that round as well. Did not have great fight RNG in that particular round. Didn't end up going so well. So I should 100% pick up the Jinx here. That's a mistake. The other person is looking for Jinxes. I should be taking them out of the pool, and I had the opportunity to do that. And as it turns out, I'm now looking to see if they're going to be able to hit the Jinx, and they're rolling and rolling. They do not have especially great Jinx items, but oh, there it is. They did hit the Jinx. I was like, you really should have taken that item out of the pool. But in any case, I'm going to continue repositioning here. I'm actually going to leave my whole left side of my line undefended, but there's no units on the other team over there, so not too concerned. Now Tom's just going to waste his time trying to eat Galio, so Galio will go off sooner in the fight, which is good. Then Tahm walks over to Kate, so okay, whatever. I really don't know why he didn't try to position Tahm over where Tahm would be eating my actual carries instead of like a 1-star, a 1-cost 2-star Caitlyn. But anyway, my whole board's still alive. Galio trolls his ult, but it doesn't matter. And this is going to be a pretty good win. So the Beefy Boys for the victory. The Scion plus Galio, just too strong. Other teams not able to cut through them and bring this match to a conclusion. So I wanted to show this game in part because it was some units that I haven't played so much before. I don't think I've had Scion in any of my games or any of my videos up to this point in time. I have run Galio some in the late game, but I really have not used Scion, and he felt really good in this game. Obviously, it helped having the Protector emblem, the Bodyguard emblem on him, and the Bramble Vest made him super tanky. He also uses Morello's extremely well, but once I put together the Scion, I kind of didn't really lose after that point. And yes, I had some good luck. I had Ascension, which was perfect for this setup, but still feels like a pretty good way to go. So when in doubt, build your front line first, figure out the carries later. Anyway, until next time, hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you guys again soon.